Old man Woody likes the crooked cock.
Ed, I listened to some of your stories, and you have like I'm talking about dinging up a fucking Chrysler for $4,000, or backing into a Silverado for 2,500. You've got some nightmare stories of test drives that gone wrong and people banging into shit. And I mean, you curb the rims on a Lambo, and you could be looking at
probably $500.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely, yeah. Most of the wheels are $4,000 to $5,000 each, and they don't necessarily repair well.
Yeah.
I think I only crashed. I hit a deer in one Lambo, which I don't really consider to be my fault, but the deer continue to haunt me. But I did crash an Aventador, like the first used one we ever got. I was like 4:45 in Metro Atlanta, which, as you know, is a terrible, terrible time to get out on a road. And a friend of the owner of the dealership came in, and the general manager's like, "Hey, Ed, give this kid a ride." He had like an 8-year-old kid, and I was like, "So you want me to go sit in traffic with this kid in this car?" And he's like, "Exactly, yeah, just please do that." So I go out there and pull the car around, and the dad asks if he can ride with the kid in his lap. And you know, I don't have kids at the time. I don't think, oh, that's a stupid idea. I think it's preposterous. But I asked my boss, like, "Do you want me to do that?" And he said, "Yeah, sure, whatever." And so we take a right out onto the main road there, and there's kind of like a multi-use turn lane, and I'm just kind of proceeding along to make a right, and because traffic is just stopped, like literally gridlocked, and we can move a little bit in the turn lane, and this guy stops traffic to wave somebody across, and it's this gigantic guy in a 2001 Chrysler Sebring convertible, and he just stomps it, comes flying through. I stand on the brakes. We're not going that fast, probably get down to under 10 miles an hour, and almost get stopped, but he comes just soaring in, and we just tap him. But it was right square in the middle of the front bumper, and right kind of just in front of his rear right wheel, and it fires all the airbags.
Oh no!
And it literally just cracked a hole about this big where the emblem is on the hood or the bumper of the Aventador. And this was, still a $400,000 car at the time. And
it's like a nice home.
I know, it's a really nice house.
So it turns the radio off, blows a charge in the steering column to make it all flimsy, drops the windows, turns on the flashers, blows the doesn't blow the side airbags, blows both front airbags and the knee airbags. So there's just powder everywhere, and this kid is screaming. I mean, the kid just got walloped by an airbag sitting in the lap of his dad.
Yeah.
And we get out, and the dude wasn't wearing his seatbelt and was wedged into this thing. So he like falls out of the car.
Was he fat?
Yeah, real fat.
And of course, it's right in front of like the lowest rent apartment complex in that area. So there's a huge crowd, and they're all like, "That Lamborghini is going to buy you a house." And well, darn it. No, that's not going to happen. And so I'm like, "Is that kid all right?" And he's like, "Yeah, I think so." And so we get out, and it immediately starts the longest traffic jam you've ever seen. It's a bright orange Lamborghini, doors up. Everybody's taking a picture. Darn it. And so I call my boss. I'm like, "I don't know. I'm sorry." And so, we get it all sorted out, get the car towed away. It takes darn forever. And the next day, this guy shows up that I'd hit, and he had definitely didn't have insurance. And I'm like, "Well, you can file it. Our insurance will, you can file it, and they'll buy you a new Chrysler or whatever, and they'll pay any bills you have or whatever." He's like, "Man, I need money now." And I'm like, "Well, that's not really something I can help you with. I appreciate that you want that, but I don't know what to do." And so he's like, "Hey, what can you do?" Like, my mom got some money from somebody. I was like, "Well, I mean, you can hire an ambulance chasing attorney. I don't think you're going to have a great deal of success, but if you feel that's the best bet, by all means." And so this was 3 months after I had set the world record for speeding across the country. Mm-hmm. And so we were all a little bit concerned that a proper ambulance chaser might find that out and have an issue with it. Mm-hmm. And it was also when the prior year, the owner of the dealership ran a red light in a Bentley Continental Super Sports and totaled it. And the general manager totaled a car on a test drive running a red light and had hit a BMW pretty hard, and that had been a really bad one. So this was 3 in a year. So we were probably going to get dropped from the insurance anyway as a dealership. And so it was, the owner of the dealership was like, well, if you can get him to take some small amount of money to go away and we can make him sign some indemnification, by all means, I'm happy to do that. And so I ended up getting him to take $3,000, $3,500, something like that. And they were very, very pleased to have it. And so he went off on his way, and we fixed the Aventador, and I sold it to, who did I sell it to? Oh, some guy. He traded in Busta Rhymes' Green Mercy. It was on MTV Cribs.
That's so cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it was ridiculous. Had neon lights everywhere. Proper disgusting car.
Do you make money on all these exotic cars? Like, how often do you take a loss? They can't all be winners, right?
I have made money on all the exotics that I've owned personally. As a dealership, no, you lose money on a good bit of them. I mean, in the aggregate, exotic cars depreciate about 1% a month. So all cars depreciate on an average 1% a month. And so if you've got $12 million in inventory, I mean, you may have $120,000 of depreciation you've got to deal with of your inventory in a month.
That's because watching YouTube, it seems like these cars all gain value. That's how they make it sound. Like, I bought this McLaren for X and it's worth 5X in a few years. Did we lose him?
I think we just lost.
There we go.
There we go.
No,
We're good.
there. We just lost the camera for a second.
How can you tell if it's going to appreciate or depreciate? Is that an obvious thing that you know?
Well, it's generally going to be a combination of rarity and significance of the car and, general trends. So if you see the previous generation appreciate, you can start to assume that the next generation will eventually. So I've had pretty good success just focusing mostly on being a manual transmission, being rare, and having some historical significance.
Yeah.
I was listening to a couple of videos, and I love your whole bit where you're like, this fucking whore wanted $75,000 for her Lamborghini Murcielago, and so I offered her $30,000, but she was shrewd, and so we met right in the middle at $30,000. Like over and over, you have those, and that's so fucking funny. Like, what I want to hear, like, what that process is like, because there wasn't any middle ground. Like, when she came at you at 75, and you're like, 30 sounds more realistic. She had to have pitched a bit of a fit, or there's got to be some story in the middle, right?
Well, there's a narrative to make it all seem fair. I was actually trying to buy a repossessed Ferrari from a bank in like central Georgia a few months ago, and I was the lowest bidder, and there were several bids above me. But I started down this line of logic, like, anyone who will pay you more than I'm offering is so stupid that they don't understand the risks they're taking with all the things that can go wrong with this car you've got. And so if you make the mistake of selling it to them for more money than I'm willing to pay you, you're incurring the liability of them having to sue you because they've misunderstood this product. And this woman was like, you're right. That's a terrible idea. I can't sell that car. I mean, I'm going to get us sued. I'm going to lose my job. And unfortunately, her boss heard her say that, and it's like, no, we're going to give it to the people that want to pay more for it. We tried, but in that circumstance, there was nobody else that was going to buy it because the risk versus the potential profit was really zero. So essentially, people go and get pre-purchase inspections on exotic cars or on a lot of cars that they buy pre-owned. But if you don't do that, all you have to do is essentially pad the offer by everything that you could have possibly go wrong, and then you don't need to have it inspected. So I'm usually willing to buy it a lot faster and, generally pay cash now. That's, and nobody else is going to bid against me in that circumstance. They're all going to say, well, I'll pay more, but I want to get my mechanic to check it out and all this. And they know stuff's wrong with it. They may not know everything that's wrong with it, but as you kind of scare them into all the things it could be, they're usually pretty ready to negotiate.
What was her boss like? Was he wearing like a pink velvet top hat and cape and a diamond cane?
I'd like to think so. But,
platform shoes with goldfish in them.
This was not the prostitute's boss, but
damn it! That's what I thought we were talking about.
I know this was the Ferrari at the bank. That was the Lamborghini.
So, but did they sold it to someone who was willing to pay more, right? Like that.
They did, yes. Yeah. I didn't get to buy that one. Shrewd negotiation did not work out, but
you did get it from the prostitute.
Ended on that note. I love the wordplay.
That was the best shit I've ever heard.